Hey, it's Natasha.
I'm Khalil.
We are the co-hosts of
WokeNFree.
Thank you for tuning in to our 160th episode of WokeNFree. If you've been tuning in every week for WokeNFree Wednesday, you know that WokeNFree is all about being real and honest with each other and you. We talk about everything and anything important to us, you, the world, and nothing is off the table. This week we are talking all about polyamorous relationships. Before we dive deep into the subject, it is time for a couple of questions for you guys. First, have you downloaded the episode from WokeNFree.com by using the Podbean app? If not, what are you waiting for? Make sure you do that. Why? Because that's how you show ultimate support. And B, that is how you're able to join the conversation by adding comments, but only through the Podbean app can you do that. So make sure you do that. Now, of course, if you're like, love you, need you, want you, Tosh, yes, love it, but you, for some reason, can't download another app right now at this time. Okay, a little bit of sadness there, but make sure that you are at least listening to the show on other platforms and you've liked and subscribed and following the show on whatever platforms you're catching this on. So whether you're doing this through iTunes or TuneIn or Stitcher or Google Play or our YouTube channel or SoundCloud or iHeartRadio or Spotify, guys, we're on like 30 plus different platforms. Just go to WokeNFree.com, go to the Listen tab, and then you can pick your platform of choice for you to support the show at. Now, when it comes to sharing, it is usually caring, absent COVID-19, racism, bigotry, any type of ism really at this point. And with that, why do we say that? Well, for things that you like, you usually talk about. So make sure you're talking about this episode and all the episodes you're catching about from the show from WokeNFree.com. Why? Because that's how you get the word out. And there's no better ambassador out there than you. You got that? Now, of course, when it comes to social media, you can easily find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok. Yes, TikTok. And Pinterest at WokeNFree. There's some fun stuff there, guys. Make sure that you are definitely liking and following us on all of those different platforms so that you can get some good content, especially the dancing videos. Someone I know truly can't get enough of them. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, if you have 90 seconds, yes, like 90 seconds, what can you do? I've said it multiple times. I'll say it again. You can make white rice. It's really wonderful. But in addition to that, you can also review WokeNFree on the platforms that you listen to the show on. So what would be a really great platform to do that on? I think iTunes. And we would probably suggest 5-star reviews. We joke, we kid. But no, really. Give your reviews on the show on whatever platforms that you're catching this on so that we can learn how the show is impacting you and how you feel about it and how it's feeding your soul, because that's what WokeNFree is all about. Scene end.
Nice. Each week we like to share a little bit about us before we dive into the topic for the episode. Last week we asked, which celebrity born on the same day would you rather have lunch with? Jennifer Lawrence or Ben Affleck? This week we are sharing, which famous Kong do you prefer? Donkey Kong or King Kong?
Another really thought-provoking question. So interesting questions that some people can answer.
Yeah, it's very exciting.
I'm truly riveted.
Nice.
For me, King Kong all the way. His spirit seems familiar to me, maybe like a cousin.
Oh, okay. I guess being really angry and destroying things.
Yeah, you know.
That's a spirit.
Yeah, I feel his vibes, man. I feel it. Yeah.
All right. For me, it's definitely Donkey Kong because he's been in so many great games. I mean, he's just the ruler like that. He's iconic.
Outing yourself as a nerd, I see.
No, not as a nerd. People know Donkey Kong. People, they know that. That's almost as popular as the game that people know, the Pong game. Like, that was the first video game. Pong.
Oh, I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, you don't even know that game where you have to move the paddles and the ball bounces across the screen? Was on Atari. That was like one of the first.
Maybe that reference
home video games.
Something, but yeah.
But I'm just saying that's Donkey Kong's like as popular as that in Pac-Man.
I know, but if you had to actually meet the character, that's interesting. You would do Donkey Kong as opposed to King Kong. Interesting.
Well, it's which one do you prefer? It's an open question.
Okay.
I mean, meeting, I don't know. Like meeting, I'll take the real. Well, I guess Donkey Kong's like a digital animation thing. King Kong is supposed to be an actual living thing. So. Yeah. If King Kong could be on my side, that'd be nice. Take out Godzilla, I don't know.
Hey, everyone's always coming for Godzilla. It's so unfair.
Yeah, you got to protect yourself,
It's
though.
so unfair, though.
Because
He's just trying to
Godzilla
live.
is
Like,
just
can't we just let
interesting.
people live?
As long as you're not blasting down cities and taking out,
obviously
those countries.
He's not. I mean, come on, man. He gets a bad rap.
He gets a bad rap, but I've never seen him in a relationship, have I? And if he was in a relationship, what type would it be?
You're a sicko.
Do you think it would be a polyamorous type of relationship?
Are you out of your mind,
Just a question that comes to mind.
The answer is I refuse to entertain that line of questioning
All right,
that fictional character, but to address polyamorous relationships.
Maybe we can just talk about what it is to be polyamorous then, since we can't go into the details of this fictional being.
No, I don't think we can.
Okay.
However, yes, we can talk about what it means to be polyamorous. There's some links that you guys will find in the episode. All episodes that have links are shared at WokeNFree.com. And for here, Healthline had some really interesting language that I thought would be helpful for people. So you might picture a romantic relationship as two people committed exclusively to one another, also known as monogamy. Consensual non-monogamy, on the other hand, involves relationships with more than one person, with the consent of everyone involved. So love is meant to be divided or multiplied or whatever, is as essentially how you could think about it. And polyamory is just one of the ways to practice consensual non-monogamy. You may have also heard of other forms like open relationships and swinging, ooh la la. So are polyamorous people, quote unquote, cheating on their partners? Nope, because this would be a common misconception. Cheating includes deception and betrayal. Like if you and your partner have agreed not to have entanglements with other people, but your partner breaks that promise. The difference between cheating and polyamory is that people who are polyamorous have shared agreements about sex and relationships with other people. People aren't polyamorous because they're unhappy about committing to a relationship, is one thing additionally shared on Healthline. And then the article goes on to talk about one research study showed no difference in relationship satisfaction between people who are monogamous or consensually non-monogamous. Commitment for monogamous people can mean expressing love by putting time, trust, and respect for shared agreements into a relationship with another person, and commitment for a polyamorous relationship could mean the same, just with a different set of agreements. So
for more sets of people.
Correct. But it might be a different set of agreements in the sense of like you might not need to put the same amount of time commitment in a polyamorous relationship as you would a monogamous relationship, because there's only two people involved. Time, right? So it's a different, I totally understand how there'd be different sets of agreements that would be made in that type of a consensual non-monogamous relationship.
Yeah, it would definitely change. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's more people involved, so you got to figure out how to split up everything, I guess, or not split it up.
Sounds like
there's different ways to arrange it.
Sounds like
there's different ways that it could be arranged, because all the people could be in relationships with each other, or it could just be ones with
different sets. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So it's still like kind of an open thing. It's not.
It's defined by the people.
Yeah, the people can. There's still like little
nuances.
Nuances for each relationship. They're not all the same.
Of course not. Yeah.
I just think it's interesting that the term actually came into existence in the 90s. So I don't know what they called it before that. I don't know.
Free love.
Maybe they called it that. They just called it free spirits.
Yeah, absolutely. What do people need to know about polyamorous relationships?
One thing that would be good to know that people probably don't know is that although they're similar to open relationships, they actually aren't. According to Women's Health, polyamory is about having intimate, loving relationship with multiple people. Open relationships, you could actually just have a fling with one person and the relationship still goes on, and that's acceptable. Mm. But in polyamory, I think it's more of a long-term kind of thing. It's not, there's no like one night hit it and quit it thing. You court somebody in hopes of bringing them into the
fold.
Yeah, the fold with everybody. It's not just, you're just going to have some fun.
But they don't have to have a relationship with the other people that
they don't.
Person,
no, they're not necessarily out with the other people, but it can't just be one night stands. Like,
gotcha.
One night stands is open relationships.
Yeah.
That's different. So I didn't know that. I at first I thought they were the same thing, but no. Polyamorous is a little more specific.
It's like having multiple relationships essentially at the same time. So it's interesting. Okay. So,
but not
kind of like how people date And they'll say,
You can
like
date.
I have 3 boyfriends. It's kind of similar to
That's
that.
similar to
except
polyamorous,
in this, the boyfriends all would know about each other.
And they would have to know.
As opposed to when people
yeah.
date, I think sometimes they have multiple girlfriends or boyfriends.
Yeah.
And they don't, those people don't know about each other.
Yeah, they don't know that they exist.
So then that's
yeah.
where, like, kind of everything goes to hell there.
It gets fun.
Yeah, it gets funky there. According to Psychology Today, there's some interesting kind of data to think about. So based on the U.S. Census, Hopper and colleagues found that fully 1/5 of the population in the United States, 21.9% in the first sample and 21.2% in the second sample, has engaged in consensual non-monogamy at some point in their lives. So that's interesting. Wow. So like 1/5 of people are kind of open to it, which is more than I would have thought. Yeah. The percent of the population reporting some experience with consensual non-monogamy remained remarkably stable across many categories such as age, race, social class, religion, education level, region, and political affiliation. Gender and sexual orientation turned out to be more influential in experiences with consensual non-monogamy, with men and the LGBT plus folks being more likely to engage in that type of relationship than women or heterosexuals. So that's interesting
to know.
And then Rolling Stone shares that essentially there's about and it's an estimate, about 4 to 5% of people living in the U.S. are polyamorous. So very few amount of people are actually like really doing this in the recent or current times, and or they're also participating in other forms of open relationships. And then there's some more information. Let's see. So ultimately, there's this, according to the research of Rhonda Balzarina and her colleagues at the University of Western Ontario, we know, and again, this is from Rolling Stone, that we know who's more likely to be polyamorous. In her paper published in the Journal of Sex Research in past June, she compared the demographic backgrounds of 2,428 polyamorous individuals and 539 monogamous ones by asking participants to take an online survey. Her team found that the polyamorous people tend to identify more as bisexual or pansexual and are more likely to report being divorced and make less money yearly than monogamous couples, which I thought was a little depressing because I thought, more love, more money, more happiness, but maybe not so much.
I mean, that makes sense to me, because if you're bisexual or pansexual, that means you're open to different like experiences than just the heterosexual. Especially the pansexual is attracted not based on gender; you're attracted to the person themselves.
Correct. Yeah.
So
the soul.
So that makes sense to me, like why they would be more polyamorous. The bisexual, I guess they can.
I think I was more surprised about like maybe the lack of financial stability. I thought it would lend more for that because you're open to different people and different things, that you would be essentially.
But if you're all like starving artists, though, kind of thing.
I mean, that's a generalization, and
I know
also,
it could be completely wrong. But how come they're making less money? It would make me think they're in professions that make less money. I mean, that
could be
kind of like, if you think about it.
It's interesting.
That seems to go hand in hand.
And then the doctor also looked at all the usual demographics: age, race, education, sexuality. But one completely unexpected thing popped out of her research. Polyamorous people eschew the use of any and all labels, not just sexual identity labels, often choosing the other category and writing in their own option. So I guess people who don't want to be filled in by a box, that makes sense.
Oh, they don't want to be labeled by anything. Okay.
And then when it came to political affiliation, polyamorous folks often chose the other, writing in anarchist, progressive, democratic, socialist, and none, which is interesting. That's just kind of fun research. So funny. And then
really?
Also, she goes on to say, we speculate that this finding may reflect polyamorous preferences to reject or deviate from traditional group labels, similar to how trans people tend to reject traditional sexual orientation labels, as said in Rolling Stone. And then the doctor also kind of moved on to drawing like 3 major conclusions from the data that she collected. For one, bisexual and pansexual participants were much more likely to report being in polyamorous relationships, where straight participants were more likely to report being in monogamous ones. Half of bi/pan people reported being polyamorous, compared to only 36% of heterosexual individuals. When it came to monogamous relationships, 74% of straight respondents reported being monogamous compared to only 17% of bi or pan respondents. The
Yeah.
remaining percentage identified as gay or lesbian or other. The second conclusion drawn was polyamorous folks were significantly more likely to report being divorced than monogamous, which that's
What?
interesting. While the research couldn't provide a direct explanation, the doctor says that might be because they divorced to make their relationships with secondary partners more inclusive, or because they break up with mono partners in the process of pursuing polyamory, or simply because more relationships result in more turnover. Interesting.
Oh.
And then she clarified the results don't indicate that polyamorous relationships are less strong or stable in nature, but rather a reflection of the fact that more relationship experiences subsequently comes more breakup. So just it's a numbers game situation. And then the third conclusion that could be made based on her paper was that she wanted to test popular assumptions about people in polyamorous relationships, mainly the idea that polyamorous are more likely to be white, bisexual, and politically liberal than the rest of the population, where there was truth to the assumption that more polyamorous folks identified as bisexual. There were barely any differences between groups when it came to education, political affiliation, and ethnicity. Only slightly more people were who were in poly relationships reported having a bachelor's degree or higher and identified as Democratic. There were no major differences between groups when it came to ethnicity, except that respondents in poly relationships were significantly more likely to identify as multi-ethnic and native. So that's also interesting. And then folks in polyamorous relationships actually reported being in a lower income bracket, which I talked about earlier, than those in monogamous relationships, opposing the idea that all polyamorous folks are bored, rich suburbanites. Participants in poly relationships were significantly more likely to make less than $20,000 a year. And those in monogamous relationships were more likely to make $100,000 a year. So that's
a big discrepancy.
Yeah, it's interesting. And then in 2016, YouGov conducted a study which found that only half of millennials, defined as they're under 30 years old, want a completely monogamous relationship. In September, Dr. Anne Laurie LeConoff, a doctoral candidate at the Institute of Psychology and Neuroscience at King's College London, posted a working paper that surveyed 509 individuals who self-identified as polyamorous, monogamous, or ambimorous, people being happy to be either monogamous or polyamorous.
Wow,
interesting.
Never heard of that.
The study also revealed that men and women differ when it comes to how comfortable they are in having an ethically non-monogamous relationship. And the most surprising finding was that women are overall more comfortable with the idea of non-monogamy than men. Makes sense, said LeConoff. And from a cultural standpoint, I did not expect those results. And then there's so much interesting information. I guess the last piece that I think would be helpful to the conversation here is that in 2013, an Australian woman was fired from her job at a Catholic organization for being polyamorous. And in most countries, there's no way for polyamorous people to formalize their relationship with each partner and protect them in case of separation or death of a partner, not to mention issues with child custody. So poly and monogamy existing on a spectrum means people can start building more balanced relationships and have healthier conversations. Seeing polyamory and monogamy as two polar opposites that cannot coexist has historically made these discussions more difficult than necessary, said the doctor. LeConoff, I think is how you say her name. So there's a lot there. I think the key takeaways is that there's a lot of misconceptions about people who enter polyamorous relationships, and also there's legal and ethical, I think, implications for these types of relationships that society probably would deem as, different than the standard approach to love or relationships. And we have to be open, and we're in a world where constantly we're breaking down barriers, and we have to be open to people being able to identify and choose who they love and how they love without creating havoc or making people lose their jobs over what they're doing in their private business. Very not cool.
No, it was interesting about the demographics, though. Nobody really expected that. But
that was I'm still a little saddened about the poverty piece.
No, but maybe I see because it's not so accepted yet. So it's kind of like the people that I don't know. Maybe they think it'd be harder to get jobs or something.
Underestimating, and that too. There might be people who
don't do it, or like you say, maybe they hide it because they don't want to risk their job. Like that Catholic woman.
I think there's there's probably a lot of underreporting going on here.
It may be that too. It's like, maybe the people that do report it have nothing to lose, maybe.
Different. Yeah.
They feel like we have nothing to lose, we'll report the truth, compared to we have something to lose, we can't tell you what we're
If you're making over $100,000, you're not looking to lose that job.
And that definitely, a lot of jobs that pay that kind of money, they look down on that. Because imagine you go into like your work party and saying, here's my wives. And here's my husband. And if you have 6 people there and
and what's also interesting is in polyamorous, like, do you even call each other wife and husband, right? Because legally you can only have one wife.
But it's like a polygamy. I mean, they say they have multiple wives, but
true,
legally they're not married. So you can still say husband and wife.
This is my wife, this is my husband.
The weird thing I would say, though, is that if you're like, let's say there's 4 of you and you're both in sets of relationship, what do you call the other person that you're technically... You're not intimate with them, but they're part of your relationship thing.
Well, so you can have because
they don't all have to be intimate. That's the thing with polyamorous.
Say there's 2 women and there's 2 men. The 2 men don't have to be in a relationship.
They don't have with each other. So what would that man call the
whoever
other man?
He's in a relationship with? That's his partner, but the other person is just a partner of his partner.
Yeah, see, that's a partner of his.
But there's no relationship between
I know,
him
but there needs to be a name for that though, because how do we know that at least he's involved with the person that the other guy's involved.
The partner of my partner.
The partner of my partner is my partner's partner. I mean, see how there has to be a name for it.
I think you're getting a little judgmental here. And
there's got to be a name.
Need to be open for that.
They don't want the labels though, right? So that's
and also again, we're coming from a heterosexual monogamous perspective, so I think it's startling maybe to people who haven't considered love in that level. I think it's fascinating, and I think it's really interesting, and I say rock on to anyone who can do this effectively and productively in their life, because again, it's whatever you want out of life. You have to live your life, and you need to be accepting, and if your love is multiplied, have at it, boo boo.
But you're definitely gonna face some backlash right now, which you shouldn't. It's like, who cares?
Yeah, it's not are you in the bedroom? Like, unless you're a partner of the partner, then I don't know what the problem is.
As long as they're happy, that's all I say. If they're miserable, then that's not good. But if you're happy, fine.
It sounds like fun to me.
Well, since you think that, you probably do think that. More? Do you think more people should consider these type of relationships?
100%.
Of course you do. Of course you do.
As they said, women are more likely to be into it than men are. I know. So the only reason I do is because I think that all the content I've ever seen as a child or even as an adult about people getting so upset about people cheating, I just think is there a way, what would be the solution to not have to cheat? And I think that this system might make sense if both all parties and all sexual orientations are open to it, in the sense that what do you want out of love? If you want commitment, but you don't have to only be the only person in the relationship, then this could work for you. For instance, if you are also open to different types of loving relationships, this could work for you. If you can be honest with you and your partners, then this could work for you. And then we wouldn't have these deceptions and lies and, I'm going here, but I'm really going this. But all of that gets put away. And I just think it might be an interesting, a more honest approach to love than what people are currently doing in monogamy.
You are now listening to WokeNFree.
WokeNFree. WokeNFree.
WokeNFree.
WokeNFree!
A podcast that gets real and personal.
For people who are cheating, they're not monogamous. They're claiming that they're monogamous, but then they have the side chick. So it's so you're not actually monogamous.
It's fake monogamy, right? When you think about it.
Let's just be honest in love. If this would open the doors to people being able to be more honest and transparent about love, I'm all about that, because it just is easier to just keep it 100. Just keep it 100. You enjoy relationships with as many different people as possible.
But for some of those people, I would think that they want an open relationship where they can just go and
maybe that's the approach, right? As opposed to having this intimate, because polyamorous is you actually have a relationship. You're not just hitting it and quitting it. But you're actually the person's middle name, involved, the whole kabam. So it's a matter of like whether the people can handle it and what they're really looking for. But I do think more people should open up their minds to it, just so as a society we embrace this type of lifestyle for those who are currently living it and make their lives a little bit easier, because there's no reason why they should be struggling or be implicated in a negative way for how they choose to live their life and who they choose to love.
Yeah, it seems kind of barbaric for us to try to mistreat a type of relationship. We're not thinking enough about it. That's what I don't think it's been brought to the table yet, but it'll definitely come up. This will be the next thing that'll be brought up, because people, I think they should be able to engage in these relationships, and they should think about it, just like you were saying, instead of being a fake monogamer or whatever you would call it, you could actually be in relationships that are truthful and honest with everybody in the know. And now you don't have to worry about what's going on with this other person. Yeah. I think it would cut down on the cheating, at least, and lying, probably. It'd make it less likely where you have to lie about where you are, because you're saying, hey, I'm talking to so-and-so that you already know. So
I think the challenge is just getting everyone on board. Like when you and I have talked about this, just from a theoretical or like an abstract perspective, you haven't brought it up, which I think is interesting.
Let's see what you're going to unlock the chest of power. What are you going to open up? Don't open up Pandora's box.
But like, so for you, you choose monogamy because you feel like you just emotionally can't handle the idea of another type of loving relationship, for yourself at least, right?
I could never be in a polyamorous relationship.
Okay. From an emotional perspective, or just
my partner can't be involved with any other partners. It can only be me. That's what I'll say. So there's another type of relationship that could work, but that's the only other one.
What other type of relationship?
Polygamy. That's the only one that could work, but I would not do
polygamy. So you can have the relationships with as many people as you like. Oh, this is good.
No, I only do that because the only reason I do it, it's not even my fault. I just take it back to my ancestors and things that they've done. So that's the only reason.
Just spreading the seed.
They practice polygamy, so that's the only reason that I.
But somehow, as a woman, I'm supposed to sit by and smile.
Well, I mean, it worked out for them. They were doing well back then, so I don't know.
Yeah, I suggest polyamorous.
They didn't. If they did that, then I may have considered it, but they didn't engage in that.
But if you found research, if I presented research to you on that,
that would shake the realm of your world. Your whole world would change. That's the thing. If you did that type of research,
we would be changing our ways, eh?
No, I'm just saying that would rock your core foundation of life. Like all your things that you thought would all go to waste. You wouldn't believe it.
So what's interesting is, actually, as a kid, if you had talked to me about this, I would have been like, what? I was all about monogamy. But like I said, then you grow up and you realize just how many people struggle with like being monogamous. It just seems like there has to be some type of solution where people don't have to continue to lie and cheat and be deceptive. Because to me, I think lying and cheating and not being honest in love is more painful than even the acts of transgression and all of that stuff. So it's interesting. I think this needs to definitely, be an ongoing conversation in mainstream media, and people need to just open up their minds and hearts around it.
Here we go, yo. So what's the scenario? It's scenario time, guys. Scenario 1. Kamjana's partner is interested in changing their relationship to be able to love not just each other, but other people. Kamjana is hesitant about doing this because of her moral beliefs. Should Kamjana give in to her partner and change their relationship, or try to convince her partner to leave the relationship as it is?
So this is an interesting question. So Kamjana is not so into changing the nature of her relationship, but her partner wants to. And so she needs to figure out if she's getting on the train, or if the train's leaving without her, essentially. Yeah. Ultimately,
or she can try to convince her partner. She doesn't have to it's not like she can take it or leave it. She could take it, or she could try to convince her partner to let's not do it. But
if the partner proposed the issue or the matter to her, this is what's the identity?
Is a woman.
If the partner told Kamjana this information, then most likely the partner is already like, hey, I want to do it. I'm just trying to figure out if you're on, if you're going to take the party train with me. And it's like, I mean, if possible, I don't know if you can convince someone to not.
You can prove to them why you're their sole love and nobody else can take their place.
To me that seems like a really hard proposition.
It's a hard sell.
Prove to me that you will only ever want me. It's like,
yeah, she's good.
If that person didn't know that from when you got engaged or married, it's like very much unlikely that she's gonna win that fight there. So I think she's gonna have to either consider entertaining a different approach to love. Of course, I suggest equality in whatever the direction is. So go on to whatever system that allows both parties to have as much fun as they want. Let's play this game fully well.
It's not as much fun because, relationships have a lot of pain involved too. So that's not...
Yes,
it's going to give pain to both. Because I think only one party should endure the pain that comes with, courting multiple people.
Oh, the pain? What pain are you referring to, Khalil?
It's painful you have to get to know somebody and figure out if you can trust them and then build your business with them.
How do you figure out how you can trust them?
If you can build a business with them.
Oh, what else are you doing with this person?
Sharing bank account info? I don't know.
And maybe having business meetings in the bed, huh?
Well, why would you have it there? You might fall asleep.
That's one thing you could do, sure.
Because remember, you can bring a partner and you don't have to be intimate if you don't want to.
You think you're clever, huh?
I'm just saying. No.
You think you're funny?
No, I'm just saying what could happen. I'm saying it doesn't have to. You don't have to have certain relationships.
I think Kamjana should have a real kind of coming to Jesus moment with her partner, and should just figure out what is the driving force for why the partner wants to change a relationship, and either identify the root of is that person really happy with where they're going, and if they're not, what would make them happy, and if that works with her values, then great, and if it doesn't, then part ways and move on. Life is too short to be trying to put a square in a round hole. It doesn't make any sense. Either people want to be with you or they don't want to be with you. If they want to be with you, you'll figure out a way to make it work. If they don't, then bye, player. It's not that deep. It really isn't. But that's where I stand on that.
Yeah, I mean, the convincing might, like you said, if they already came up with it, I don't know how you're going to convince them now that you're the one and only and they'll never need more. That's going to be very tough. So I think she would have to just admit that morally she can't be in this type of relationship, and that if that has to come to pass, then they're going to have to break up. That's how you'd have to go.
It's rough stuff.
You got to hold on to your morals, I guess.
Maybe.
Depending on your morals. Morals do change as well.
True.
So, scenario 2. Lamb, Nitad, Claudel, Abdel, Quentin, Rita, Jeanette, Una, Gilbert, Soma, Manaj, Britt, Tarina, Vanessa, Iwan, Wetold, Felipe, Dikembe, Park, Edwin, Casimir, and you are in a polyamorous relationship. Do you think this is too many people to be in a serious relationship?
Oh, what an interesting question. So this is someone's fantasy.
Fantasy or actual life that they're living right now. They heard this podcast. They said, oh, they're calling us out.
They were like, what?
They said, what? They actually knew we existed. See? I told you we weren't so
Dreams
unique.
do come true, guys.
Is that what this is? A dream?
So let's count this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22 people are in a polyamorous relationship. So is this too many people to be in a serious relationship? It really would depend. Again, love is not something that you can logically think out. You can be strategic and you definitely can be meaningful, but for me at least, I don't think love is logic. I think love is strategic emotional action and feeling. And I would say that you cannot put a number to love. Can you love too many people at one time? It depends on what each love and how each person plays a role in their life. And among these 22 people, where the crossovers are, right? Are there literally is Liam dating all the 21 other people, or is it Liam and Natat and then they're doing the other? It depends on where the crosses go and where who's with whom, and there's certain considerations, health, emotional, mental, physical, economic, financial, all those things that you'd want to think about. But ultimately, I don't think it's in anyone's position to decide what it or who is too many. I think it really comes down to what you said which is, are these 22 people happy? If they're happy, then have at it and live your lives, boom booms. If you're not, then make changes.
All right. Well, I go complete opposite and say it's way too many.
Oh, okay.
It's that there's so
Fair
many
enough.
people there. I mean, I don't see how you could keep anything straight. Like, who's with who's doing what, who are you? Do I remember you? I mean, it seems really too many eggs in one basket for me. I mean, hopefully
But you're
you guys
looking at it through
have
your
a business.
heterosexual lens.
No, I'm trying to look through it
right?
logically. Even if you have 32 kids, that's too many too. There's a limit on how many kids I think you should have, but that's just me.
That's
I
your
think
opinion.
32
That's
is
not
too
mine.
many.
Yeah,
that's
I
not
think
yours.
we
Yeah,
talked
I know.
about, yeah,
You
there's
said
no
people can do
limit.
whatever they want.
Live your
but
lives.
for me, I don't know, because it's just kind of like you're increasing your chances of failure, is what I say. Failure to launch and stuff.
It just, like I said, it
It
depends,
seems like
because
it's gonna be a
also
strain
you
on the
can't
relationship.
assume that each of
It's
these
too much.
relationships are sexual relationships, right? Maybe
That's fine.
not everyone's sexually entangled.
Yeah, they don't have to be.
Some of these people could just be like friends and with like, but they're like,
But
they're
more
in
than
love
friends,
with each
they can
other, but
you
they're...
can sleep over and stuff.
Yeah,
a
exactly.
lot.
Like, so it's...
You don't have to leave. You can live together.
Yeah, so it just depends on, and then also like how frequently do they see each other? Maybe one of them only sees each other once a year, and so it really there's so many different factors that would be involved. That why
Maybe.
For me, I couldn't outrightly. I don't think you can ever outrightly look at someone else's relationship and make a judgment call. You're not in it.
Yes,
You're
you
not
can.
that person.
What about when the person's being abused by the other person?
So
You definitely need to make a judgment there.
Yeah, so if
In
someone's
domestic
being
violence
physically
cases.
harmed in domestic violence or toxicity,
Or even like mentally,
or mental
and change.
emotional, then sure, yes. But outside of those scenarios, then like
Then you think it's okay as long as they're in a willing relationship.
It has to be
Then they
consensual
don't-
and it's not harming anyone involved, and no one is being endangered financially, emotionally, spiritually, mentally, physically, sexually. Have at it. Like I just think we have to really just embrace that hippie lifestyle. Just like,
so you would even be okay with 1,000 people in a relationship, a polyamorous. I mean, I'm just
Again,
putting any number.
it depends on
See,
how
to me, it
it's
seems
being
like it
coordinated.
doesn't make sense.
It depends on how it's
now,
being
if we were
coordinated.
different type of beings, like if we had robotic minds, maybe, because then we can process that all. But we can't process 21 different people in a relationship. That's weird.
But is it likely
You
that
can't do
someone's
that.
going to have an intimate relationship with 21 people or
No,
1,000 people?
that's
It's
what I'm saying.
unlikely.
It's
So that's
not.
why I'm saying those scenarios and those hypos are not going to most likely come to fruition. It's most likely maybe 3 to 6. If that. 6 even is really pushing it. Most likely someone's not entertaining that many people.
But you might be able to find relationships where there's 8 people.
You could be, yeah. And again, because
Yeah.
maybe for 2 out of the 8 people, they only see them once every 3 years. Like,
Well, yeah, we don't know. They can structure their relationship any way they want.
It's so nuanced.
That's up to them.
It's really, up to them.
Scenario 3. Sang is in a polygyny relationship, which is to say he has multiple wives. One of his wives was okay with this relationship for 5 years, but has now decided that this is unfair to the rest of the wives. She wants them to transition to a polyamorous relationship, even though Sang has been polygyny for over 30 years. Is this reasonable, or should the wife leave?
Oh, interesting. So now the wife is suggesting that she's looking to have some fun.
Yeah.
So, listen, you better
You
work.
better not work, is what I was thinking.
You better work,
I was thinking you
baby.
better not work.
You better get it in. Yeah, man. So again, this is a challenge, right? Because you're in relationships and people expect for you to be one way for eternity, and life is about evolution. And so she's now taking kind of a serious look at what's been going on and is saying, I'm really missing out here.
She's got her one Sang. That should be enough.
Yeah,
there's a lot of Sang to go around.
Yeah, there's a lot of other Sang out there.
No, there's not. No, there isn't.
These streets are
No,
looking
there
good.
isn't. No, now when you have your one Sang, they found their one and onlys. They're good. They got their one and only.
There's other Sangs.
They got their one and only.
These streets, I'm telling you, there's life in these streets,
Nah.
guys. So ultimately, you always have a right to say when you're not happy in a relationship. You always have a right to stand up for your rights. And at the end of the day, he's been benefiting by having his how many people he's out here with these? Five people?
No, he has multiple. We don't know the number.
Multiple people out here. He's getting his sang in, and these women are sitting out here and not.
They get in their sang in too. They get in sang.
But they might want more than sang.
No, they can't do that. They have him. They agreed to this relationship type too.
Correct, but things change and life changes.
That's
to it.
After 5 years, wow.
Yeah, because you know what? Maybe things are getting stale.
They can't get stale with the sang. Are you kidding me?
I think you're getting a little emotionally invested in this hypothetical.
I'm just telling you how these people feel that are in these relationships. They know it's not stale.
These hypothetical people in this hypothetical relationship.
But you know they exist, though. There's people out there, and they know they satisfy their partners.
Listen, ladies, I'm here for you. I'm rooting for you.
No,
I'm rooting.
You can't root for people in these type of... You can't judge people. You don't want to judge a relationship
I'm not
type.
judging. I'm rooting for them. I'm supporting them.
No, only the one's doing this. Not all of them. It's just one in the relationship.
But
she wants to change it.
It sounds like she's going to try to put orchestrate a coup here.
No, she can't do that. It's impossible. Or you think she
might have
can?
a meeting. Yeah, she might have a meeting, and they might, it's like.
So that's what you suggest to do?
101.
Try to make a coup to make him look like he's the bad guy.
No, I'm suggesting that they just get outside of Sang World and they get in these streets.
So that's your final suggestion? She talks to the other women and try to trick them into being polyamorous with her?
Were those the words that came out of my mind?
Oh, no, you said to bribe them, actually, with a filthy load of money.
I definitely did not suggest that, nor would I ever suggest that. I suggest that she be honest with herself. If this relationship is not working for her, then she should definitely have a conversation with him and suggest to him what exactly she's looking for and why she wants that. If she feels that, so in this relationship, does she have a relationship to those other women that he's in the relationship with or no? Just to be clear.
Well, not intimate.
They're
friends.
They friends? They're friends?
Yeah.
Okay. So as friends, then if she feels comfortable and open having that conversation that she's going to have with him, with them, to raise the situation to them, then she should feel comfortable doing that. And whether they join her on her plight to get outside these Sang streets, then good for them. All I say is I'm rooting for the women who want to have some fun. That's what
they want to ruin this happily ever after relationship that's been going on swell for the last...
Well, I don't know. That wasn't written into the hypothetical. So
all right.
We just know it's been 5 years. We don't know if it's a happy 5 years.
I mean, I would hope you could pull that out from it because it's...
No, it's not quite clear yet. No.
All right. So you weren't sure if it was a happy relationship.
No, it wasn't
that
clear
influenced
to me.
your decision.
To me, it
okay.
influenced me. I just envisioned this king surrounded by women that he gets to satisfy. and I'm sitting here wondering...
That's a good way to put it, I guess.
What,
I mean,
what have they done for Miss Jackson lately? Like, that's where I'm wondering. So that's where I'm at.
That's where you stand?
Yeah.
Right. So you're okay with her trying to bring this up with the others? Wow.
I think it's behoove her to raise this with her friends. I mean... To be honest, you should always have friends you can speak to.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah.
I don't think she needs to speak to the wives about it because she already spoke. She should speak to Sang. She's the one
I
who has
think
the
a
issue.
united front would be helpful here.
Okay, you're trying to all team against Sang. I don't think it's going to work, to be honest, because she's the only one that came out and said this after 5 years.
For now,
and we don't know how many years he's been with his other wives, but they might be entrenched in the ways of
either way,
polygyny,
you're not beholden to anyone or anything in life. And at the end of the day, if something's not working for you, it's up to you to change your life. So my whole thing is she can bounce whenever she wants. She's choosing to be in this relationship. The minute she decides to not choose to be in it, that's where she's at with it. Whether the other women form a coup with her, it provides extra context of yumminess.
Yeah,
but
that's like some type of movie. Like I don't think that's
where I was
real.
going with it. It seemed really fascinating.
It's a great movie idea, the story, but realistically, I don't think that's gonna happen. Like I wouldn't bet on that. I'd bet against that.
But I would love that for it to happen because just like image in my mind is really amazing.
That's too unreasonable. That to me is very unreasonable.
But your answer is?
My answer is she should start packing her bags and looking for a place to live in.
Nice.
That would be the best opportunity right now.
I see where you lie.
No, that's not where I lie. Sang has been in a relationship for over 30 years this way. Why is he going to say, you know what, I'm just going to change now? He didn't say anything wasn't working well. Like, she just comes out of nowhere.
He's sowing his seed with multiple people.
You're saying that, but remember, he gets stressed too. There's a lot of stress.
Multiple women.
But I'm just saying, everybody gets stressed out. Like, they shouldn't try to jump and say, let's bring in more people. That's not the way. I think they need to work on
someone should have told him
the issue
that.
is. Told him what? There's nothing to tell him. He's
So
been
stop
doing this for
bringing in
30
more
years.
people if you're saying that it's not the solution.
No, but he brought in enough. They got to their, whatever their number is, their magical number. They got to enough, and now she wants to bring in other type of people. It doesn't make sense. We already decided what we wanted to build. Do you want to break this contract now? You signed it. You put your name to it.
Okay, we're getting a little out of control.
I'm just saying, though.
Right now.
I'm just saying, though. She agreed upon this. Like, it's fine. Yeah, she decided, this
I like
isn't for
that
her.
you had
She
to make
can
her
go.
homeless in the scenario, though. That's very interesting.
Well, I mean, he can give her some cash to help her out, but I mean, not he. It's technically they, right? Because the wife's money too. They got
it all
decide.
depends on how they
Yeah, they're not going to make. She's not going to be homeless. She's going to have a place.
If she's the legal wife, then there's a whole other set of circumstances.
Yeah, that'd be pretty funny.
It's more than just pocket change. I'll tell you that.
But from the scenario, she couldn't be the legal wife because she was only in the relationship for 5 years.
Yeah. So if she's just this kind of other person, then we'll see where things hang for her. I like I said, I'm rooting for her. I'm rooting for a coup, and I'm rooting for women.
Even though you know she should just leave though, because that ain't. She's not.
If she's not
gonna change his mind.
Yeah, just bounce.
She ain't gonna change the whole group. I mean, come on, that's a wish.
Deep, yeah,
that's a dream.
Mm-hmm. We are at that time again. Oh, man, it's coming to the end of our 160th episode of Woke and Free. It was quite the episode discussing polyamorous relationships. Will we leave you hanging for what our next episode will be about? Drum roll, please.
On our next episode, we will be discussing who were the Black Panthers. Make sure you follow us on social media to follow along the conversation, and make sure you tune in next week for Woke and Free Wednesday to join the conversation at WokeNFree.com.
If you'd like to be a guest on the show, you can submit a topic for an upcoming episode or share how you feel on our Contact Us page at WokeNFree.com. That's WokenFree.com. We are definitely looking to book for guests in 2021, but we are definitely wrapping things up for 2020 because before you know it, we will be at the end of the year, guys. When it comes to social media, you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, and TikTok at Woke and Free. And then, of course, if you are interested in a collaboration to promote your business or service, you can, again, hit us up on our Contact Us page at WokenFree.com.
If you didn't already subscribe, please do. Share the episode, and make sure you come back to join the conversation every Wednesday for Woke and Free Wednesdays. Remember, Woke and Free is more than a podcast. It is a way of life. Until next time.